call this one, if it clears up the picture, I'll probably title it with this name unless I come up with another idea at the end of the video. It looks like this is probably the title. Just add a plural. This is not really to do, this is just normal people fakeness. Fake outrage is a good word there, so and then if you talk about that the channel gets attacked because of the fake outrage, secretly everyone thinks it's good, which it is, but then you've got to get attacked and blah blah blah. You've got to be the fake culture and well, whatever. Sorry, I'm not going to be fake. I guess people might find that funny. Normal people used to. I don't mean it to be, but if that's how you want to think of it, good for you. Alright, let's go through it. So, could be to do with or past life energy, where it passes on to people maybe. But I think this is to do with these things. So the physicalist, materialist, believers, I'm not finding it anyway. Okay. There we go. Yeah. The materialist physicalists, of which is a belief system with no full evidence, aka they're not providing a full set of evidence, they're just making the claim, which seems faith-based, seems to go against their own system, which doesn't make it, seems a bit hypocritical, but anyway, what I mean is they're not providing any proof of not providing proof that the non-physical is made up or doesn't exist. They're not providing evidence and proof. They're just making the statement without proof, but then claiming that it's scientific. Doesn't seem scientific to just make a sort of claim without backing it up with evidence, but then say that the other side are crazy for doing it. Anyway, it doesn't. They seem to be going against their own ideas really, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so anyway, I'll just write it down again. So I think mine are from PLE, past life energy that's somehow passed on, or something to do with something, some kind of passed on energy from some other dimension anyway. Can't quite put my finger on it, but really, so let's just plug this in. There we go. So in the physicalist model, again, which they're not providing evidence that the non-physical doesn't exist, they're just making a statement without providing evidence, which just seems unscientific. But anyway, in their model, it's Western weight training, steroids, then you have to lie, you have to pretend, do like Lance Armstrong technique, where this is very common in normal world. This is not one person, it's a culture. So, you've got to pretend that you're natural, but you've got to it's, in their culture it's all about deception and sneakiness and like psychological war games, mind games. I don't know. It's very odd. It doesn't seem very healthy. It seems cluster B. It really does. It does not seem like a healthy culture. It seems like a mentally ill culture. But anyway, so in their world, it's the physical thingy without the evidence, which seems unscientific. Then it's we take the steroids, but we've got to pretend that we're not for some strange reason. And then the Western weight training again with the physicalist religion, physical materialist religion, and then what we have to do to top it all off is to do the one size fits all, so that everyone has to do that now, and be attacked and called names and called all sorts of things because they don't fit into the so-called system that isn't their system anyway. Again, like religious Puritans, maybe they're non-members. Maybe that could be an idea. So their way is the physicalist, rigid, materialistic, without the evidence to, proving that it's made up, that the non-physical is made up, and that the other dimensions, they don't give any evidence for this, for the non-existence of it. They just make the claim anyway. So in their culture, we do this, but we have to pretend we're not. The pretending is probably equally as important as the taking the drugs. Then Western weight training. So anyway, everyone now has to be a member of the insane culture and be attacked if they're not for some reason. They can't bear people doing their own thing. So then one size fits all in normal culture, but no, it doesn't. No, it does not. And then let's just say that in the physicalist, materialist, left-brained, very rigid model, and there's all good things, and that's the closest in that culture that you'll probably get to magic. But in my one, which for some kind of punishment, maybe for a past life problem, yeah, maybe, is that this seems to be what's happened. Yeah, I feel it very strongly, so I'm trying to regain a bit of that, but then, like Zeus, yeah. So electricity, magic, water element, wind element, and yeah, as a punishment for whatever the past life energy did wrong, I seem to now have lost them. And so in their culture, their power display is to take the drugs, then pretend they're not, then do the Western way training and the religion, the physicalist religion, and then try and force pretty much everyone, including non-members, to take part at so-called gunpoint. You know, they have to like use physical force to make people take part, or do verbal and emotional and psychological attacks. So in theirs, their way of power is this very in-the-box sort of rigid, left-brain, masculine, way of doing it, closed-minded way. Again, each to their own. Do it. The doing of it isn't my problem. It's the forcing of it on non-members that is my problem. So their power vehicle is this. Okay, well, it's not my way. It's their way, and that's good. My way is here. That's where my power stems from, and again, obviously, some kind of entity up there doesn't want me to have them anymore, so I don't. I have a tiny bit of this. I have very strong intuition. That's probably the only bit left over that I'm seen to be allowed, is the intuition, but a lot, 99.834% of it is gone, and it's a shame. So that one is thunder, the gods of thunder, and lightning, throwing lightning bolts. Yeah. Yeah. And then again, the water element, wind element, magic, electricity, and many others, and telekinesis is written down somewhere. So TK, telekinesis symbol for the periodic table of superpowers, not the scientific, rigid, left-brained in the box. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's a particular way of looking at things, but this is another way of looking at things. Periodic table of superpowers, non-rigid, which is mind reading, psychic ability, telekinesis, moving things with your mind physically, and levitation, which in Indian traditional yoga, the extreme high level 10th Danzan yoga, could maybe achieve. Also in ancient Egypt. It really, with the physicalist model, some of it is, I think, with power structures don't want you to, the 1%ers or whatever, don't want you to know, but also there's no danger of it. The physicalist people in the public, there's no danger of them waking up, don't worry, and any attempt to wake them up will make them more closed-minded, if that's possible, which, who knows. But yeah, the modern Western way is this focus on the physicalism. So then, and again, this is excellent. This is save people's lives, and it's excellent. But again, there are, two sides to the coin, not one side. And so, well, there's three actually, because it can land on its edge too. But there's so this is the in the box left-brained orthodox masculine. Again, the good stuff, saving people's lives, but because it's been the focus in modern Western society for hundreds of years. So that's what's been produced. Okay, but so in let's say if we find the yoga again, so say in the East, in the non-rigid, the right brain out of the box thinking has produced, say levitation or spiritual or non-physical. So it's just basically the culture has produced, based on its focus, a very high level in its area of focus, in the same way you might in college do physics or science or biology. You might do, say, physics, and you might achieve a very high level in that, but then you might not do English literature. You might not do Shakespeare and English literature and read books and things. So you might achieve a very high level in this tunnel vision area, but not in another area. So I think what may have happened is that people have become, because of the focus, they've become very good in the area of focus, but very poor outside the area of focus, very tunnel vision, which again is good within its area, but it's this one size fits all. It can't achieve every job, like the driving in the screw while smashing it with a rock. It's the wrong tool for the job, and I think it's not necessarily this that's the problem, or the left brain in the box thinking that's the problem. It's the one size fits all mentality of applying one tool to everything and every situation and forcing it. That's the problem. It's probably the attitude and the mentality, not the actual thing itself. So yeah, you become good at what you focus on, and I think that's just what we see. But yeah, it's sad, really. I think the lost powers. Now I know that another way is words. So they can be a sort of as close as you can get to magic in the physicalist model, physicalist materialist model. White magic, if it's used for good. Those three, really. Yeah. But yeah, it seems a shame that I've lost. And then obviously you could say the contrast. You could say, well, if everyone had it, wouldn't be special, just like the physicalist model now. I suppose you're right, maybe. I don't know. I'm not, because of the amnesia is so extreme, I'm not knowledgeable enough to tell you whether that's right or whether whatever, because I don't know, But yeah, maybe with the contrast thing, I don't know. But that contrast thing with the magic and the non is this binary system, this 1-2. Again, with the modern Western society, it seems to be very much that, like digital codes, ones and zeros rather than analog. And yeah, there might be a third way. Instead of just needing that contrast, there might be 3 instead of 2. So yeah. Anyway, that's just that story about lost power, stripped of my power. Sad. And it's not my realm, the physicalist, rigid way. Again, please, if anyone's good at that and that's their way and that's good for you, just don't force non-members to take part at gunpoint or force point. Don't physically force them to take part. That's my problem. But yeah, good for you if it's your way. But lost powers, and we know in nature, electric animals like the eel. So yeah. I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard because they have their power, which is the raw numbers and the IQ of 3, and basically the raw numbers compensates for the not being very bright, and so they can smash with force like Hulk smash technique. But obviously I can't, because again with the autistic thing, it's 90%, 99% are normal people, and then 1%, with and then even within that you've got extreme individual difference. So yeah, it's a way to compensate for the raw number power that they have, and it's a bit like technique versus strength in martial arts, or technique overcoming strength in martial arts. But yeah, so that's lost powers. And then the other one was magic symbols from Mortal Kombat 4, and then one I made up myself, S with arrows. Again, this may be past life energy, or it may be divine intervention energy that I'm getting told by an angel. Don't know, but the energy told me to draw that, so I did. And that's Hung Gar 5 animals, Kung Fu, Chinese. Forgotten the 5th animal, which is really frustrating because I used to know them like the back of my hand. I hate not knowing stuff. Yeah. And the non-rigid quantum physics is basically the opposite of like the standard one that you'll pick books up and get mathematical formulas and physics formulas. That it's not. That's the male. The regular version is the masculine dominated one, and the non-rigid is the feminine, the more Eastern, if you like. Again, you need both. It's just my way is that way. Yeah, for whatever reason. So, and that was the Asian zodiac, but I've forgotten 3 of it, so I need to rack my brains to remember the 3. So yeah, periodic tables of magical powers, and there's the different things as well that we'll go through in a minute. So like then there's what I call, I've invented this word, RSF. Like Farscape and Scorpius, the anti-hero, which I feel I have a lot in common with in some aspects. So that was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, real sci-fi, like real Farscape, real life Farscape, and then these, or any real life and aliens as well, space and aliens. Ghosts and demons, the non-physical, the spiritual, the religious realm, sci-fi, alien space, and superpowers like Marvel. But what's interesting, they're not portrayed as supernatural. Well, how can I say? They're not portrayed as superhuman, like, but they're not portrayed as supernatural. They're not portrayed as ghostly or non-physical. So I think what I'm saying is they're portrayed as worldly, physicalist worldly, like extra powers, but not non-physical, not like ghouls, ghosts, and goblins and hobgoblins and things. They're not. So these areas generally, apart from exceptions, are kept separate, which is good because that means you get diversity then. But also maybe there's a connection with them. Maybe they're all friends. Yeah. And then there's like the things like the dictators in history that were demons with a human costume or a human mask on, and then they blame humans. I'm not saying humans don't do stuff wrong, but they blame humans, and then everyone hates humans, but it's actually demons with the mask on that have done it, like tyrants and dictators throughout history. I'm not saying they were all demons, but I think some of them definitely were. Again, I know a physicalist, materialist believer will, do a verbal attack on that thought and say, it's all woo-woo without producing any evidence that it's woo-woo. Because that's what they always do. They attack, but then they produce no evidence, and that's unscientific. But then they claim to be scientific. Very strange contradiction. But anyway, these 4 areas are good if they're kept separate because it creates diversity. But if it's too extreme, it's like a balance, like Goldilocks, the middle ground. If it's too kept separate, then it'll be too rigid. But if it's too mushed together, it'll just all become monochrome, it'll become one colour, like mashing the crayons together. So it's good to keep separate and keep diversity, but then it's not good to be too separate to the point of extra rigidity. So again, there's a middle ground. So, but so for, let's see if it's Western weight training. So if anyone understands this, imagine you've lost your power to do that, your ability or whatever, or your power to express yourself in that realm, in the Western weight training reality. Okay, well, I've lost my magic powers, apart from, again, this extremely strong intuition. And reclaiming like a 0.01% of amnesia, which 99 etc. percent is gone. So I'm trapped without my powers. That's great, isn't it? Yay! No wonder I'm happy all the time. Did have other stuff. Should we talk about direction bias for 3 seconds? Okay, direction bias in the West, Western culture, Western modern society, direction bias. Nobody will ever ask you, how aren't you? People tend not to say why not. But this one's very interesting. Has anyone ever said anywhere, at any point, how aren't you? Anyone? No? Nope, I don't think so. There's a direction bias in modern Western culture. It's purely just it's a xenophobia towards direction. It's got nothing to do with logic or anything. It's just purely, I think it's to do with time and linear time, and Western culture has this very strong conception of linear time, and it has to be linear. Well, not in Eastern culture, not in the ancient Chinese and Indian, conception, non-linear conceptions. So again, it's just a cultural bias. It's not to do with logic. And again, it's this direction bias is very aggressive towards the negative, or towards the backwards direction or the reverse direction, and very, very biased in favour of the forwards time direction or the positive direction or etc. The linear direction. Because of, again, direction xenophobia, it's purely just a bias, like an emotional bias. It's not based on logic. Direction bias. For whatever reason, again, I think it comes to the concept of linear time. Yeah. Which is just a cultural convention again, but whatever. So, the strongest magic symbol that I can come up with. Imagine a white panel here, which is, I just wrote blank to get the message across, but really, blank means this. Yeah. Upside down A, sideways Z, and some dots. And this is the energy telling me to draw these things. Newton's third law, non-rigid, which means the non-masculine, all what I've said before. It's Newton's third law, but applied to the spirituality and the non-rigid stuff instead of just the physics side, the mechanicalistic, physicalistic side, which again is fine, but I'm just giving people the other side of the, thought process. So, yeah, as well, Grey's Anatomy, the flashcards, which have looked really cool because of probably being hyper or whatever. So I may end up getting them because it's just the way the brain works is just insane. It just sees it like a magpie, I guess. But also, if there's no pressure, then I really like to get interested in it. But then if there's pressure, I can't do it at all. So it's very easy and enticing when it's non-pressure. When there's low pressure and there's no force to do it, then I really like it. So I may end up looking at the Grey's Anatomy. It'd be really cool to talk to students of Western medicine about that. Anyway, because the problem again in the capitalistic, westernised modern culture is that you have to make money, so they pay taxes, so the taxes go towards corruption, and it's like, but then the sheep are part of the corruption because without them going along with it, it doesn't happen. So, what was I saying? Something about sheep being really stupid. I forgot. Let's draw this symbol. I have forgot what I was saying. Because I'm ranting about normal people again. So you've got physical anatomy, Grey's Anatomy. And you've got non-Greys, you've got like knockoffs, spin-offs and things that are just as good almost, But yeah, when I'm not feeling any pressure to do it, that's when I'm really able to do it. Like a waterfall. Relaxed heaviness, very